So I harken back to your comment about Cologne, and I actually was remembering because I was reading about what was occurring there in Germany, and I thought this, along with Angela Merkel's blatant disregard for not only for her own citizens, but also for the placement of her own troops, along with making what some have dubbed the Twitter firewall.
We are the protectors of freedom of speech as well, but at the same time we cannot accept for instance the illegal content. Our message was clear: we have the rules which have to be complied with, and otherwise there will be sanctions.
In relations to the reaction to Angela Merkel about how troops regarded the blatant disregard for them, because I think there's even a movie written about it by Clint Eastwood about the
struggle with a heavily armed suspect on that high-speed train. This video showing the dramatic scene on the train. Stone, shirtless and bleeding, tending to another passenger. His attacker, the gunman, tied up a few feet away, not moving. On a nearby seat, the gunman's automatic weapon. Authorities say those 3 Americans and a British man took down the suspect after he shot another passenger. Almost certainly, they prevented a massacre. The 2 unwounded Americans praising their friend's quick actions.
Spencer ran a good 10 meters to get to the guy, and we didn't know that his gun wasn't working or anything like that. Spencer just ran anyway.
I'm really proud of my friend that he just reacted so quickly and so bravely.
The suspect was identified as Ayoub El Kazani, a 26-year-old native of Morocco. French authorities say he may have belonged to a radical Islamist movement. On board the train, authorities found an AK-47, a handgun, a box cutter, and ammunition.
And it could have been a real carnage, and there's no question about that.
We're very lucky that nobody got killed, especially Spencer.
President Obama today praising the 3 Americans: Stone, Oregon National Guardsman Alex Scarlatos, who was returning from duty in Afghanistan, and their civilian friend, Anthony Sadler. Tonight, Stone, just out of the hospital, is expected to be reunited with his fellow heroes. And tonight, El Kazani is in French custody undergoing interrogation. He lived in Belgium and was known to Belgian authorities. Investigators there and in France are now trying to determine where he got the weapons, all those weapons he had on that train, and what he planned to do with them. Cecilia.
Ron, what those servicemen did was totally remarkable. Thank you. Good to see you tonight.
And then the second was what was Trump and his admin's reactions from your guys' perspectives, or even firsthand, regarding that same situation, specifically with the troops being in harm's way by a blatant backhanded ally's actions?
I'll go first because I want to make sure that everybody knows that Joe is the star of the show here tonight, so you should rap, right? Somebody in this room was the first person to publish the story about what happened in Cologne when nobody else will. And that was me. Bremer London was the first place to publish that story, and we were called all sorts of things for it. I was. And I'm sorry to play this card, I'm not Nikki Haley, but like as a brown man raised in a Muslim family, reporting on a mass Muslim attempted gang rape attack in Cologne on New Year's Eve, I was called an Islamophobe for writing about it. You talked about the Iranian regime earlier. The Iranian regime in 2014 actually named me the Islamophobe of the Year. And I'm still waiting for my trophy! And my cash award.
Somebody else to pick it up. Yeah.
But we were the first to publish that. We were pilloried. I mean, they tried to ruin my entire career. I am a 10-year-long member of the oldest journalism union in my country, and they tried to revoke my status as reporting the truth based on us reporting that story. And of course, 2 or 3 days later, the head of the Cologne police came out and said, no, it did happen. It did actually happen. That happened. And of course, we then learned it actually happened. Do you guys know what this is, Taharush, and all of this that these guys do? They believe that white Western women are necessarily fair game for this behavior. And I'm not saying that this is how every person from that part of the world behaves, but it's how those people from that part of the world behave in the West. So why aren't we facing up to it? Why aren't we staring that down? I'm willing to stare that down, and I'm from that part of the world. And so we were pilloried as a result of this. So for me, that moment in time is extremely important, extremely important. It was a formative part of everything that happened with Brexit and all the conversations that we had about migration, and indeed, by the way, of the protection of women in our societies, which is something that we have started to talk about more and more recently. From one particular perspective, we need to be running the gamut on that, quite frankly, because it's under assault across the board. But the other part of it, I think, as well, I'm going to hand over to Joe on this too, is I think a lot of that Trump administration, a lot of the people I was talking to at the time, simply could not believe this was happening in Europe, right? Simply could not believe that these attacks were becoming so routine that actually the media, the mainstream media, whether it was Le Monde in France, or whether it was the Daily Telegraph in the United Kingdom, all across the board, we actually stopped covering terror attacks and attempted terror attacks, because for them, it was just like a robbery on the street corner, right? It's just de rigueur. It's just, oh, what did Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London, say? He said it's part and parcel of living in a city. Oh, terror attacks are part and parcel of living in a Western city. Yes, Sadiq Khan, it might be part and parcel of living in a city where your mindset is from, but it is not part and parcel of a city in a country that my parents came to and wanted to improve and wanted to be a part of the improvement of the lot. You know, my parents taught me to integrate and assimilate and speak the Queen's English, you know, and talk and not segregate ourselves. And not assume that we are a different part of society that is held to a different standard, or that anything is owed to us. No. We were taught to go out and work and to be part of the society that they had moved into. And so I think, to answer your question, dumbstruck. A lot of people were dumbstruck by the fact that this continued to happen, and by the way, continues to happen unreported on a regular basis. If the mainstream media, and I'm sorry for going long, but I'm really not. If the mainstream media, or the corporate media as I like to call them, reported on the attacks on churches across Europe with the same, even half of the breathlessness that they report, you know, attacks on, you know, black people in America, Jussie Smollett, you know, all of this nonsense that gets peddled for this mania, this, what I think in the 70s was referred to as sort of race relations mania, then you'd know. But dozens upon dozens of cathedrals are attacked routinely. They're burned to the ground and nobody hears about this. And, you know, I realize today I've accidentally given like very spiritual and religious-based comments and answers, but it comes down to this. It does, and it will continue to come down to this, because, and this is why I think it's got to be Trump. It's got to be Trump, because they watched all of that take place. They watched all of the reaction from the West, you know, the rest of the West. They watched all of the reaction from the corporate media, and now they know. Now they know. Now they know what they're dealing with. Now they know how it works. And I don't know about you, I can't take another 4 years of learning curve, okay? I just cannot do that. No curve, no more curve. Day one, we're in there and we're swinging the bats. That's all I'm saying.
I think the big thing is to learn from the lessons of what happened in Europe. I think as Americans, a lot of times we don't like to look at the rest of the world, but what happened? Europe had a massive illegal immigration problem that they fully leaned into by opening up their borders, right? I think Hungary was the only country that said, no, we're building a wall, we're turning people away. Then the media jumped all over Hungary and said they're all racist xenophobes for wanting to have something like a border and not just letting unrestricted illegal immigration come into their country. And we need to learn from that. We see how horrible it worked out for Germany, what's happening right now in Britain, and really throughout Europe. I mean, Europe is being absolutely crushed by unchecked, illegal mass migration. And we're fortunate here in the Western Hemisphere because the folks that can walk into America, they actually share a lot of cultural with us. They share a lot of, they share religious foundation with us. But at the same time, it's going to be exploited by bad actors. And at the end of the day, if you don't have a border, you don't have a country. And that's not racist, that's not a political thing. I mean, that's just basic common sense. That used to be something that Republicans and Democrats agreed on, but the Democrats, because the Democrats are really, really good at never letting a crisis go to waste. I mean, Obama's old chief of staff, Raheem Kassam, I think he's the one that actually coined that phrase. I don't think the Democrats are sitting back in some cabal saying, oh, we'll force a migration crisis here or there. These things happen because of war, because of chaos. However, Biden, when he came in, what did he say? He said the border's wide open, and now we have massive illegal immigration coming into our country. And who else has exploited that? Well, the Chinese Communist Party has exploited that. If there's no border, what have they done? They've taken a bunch of the precursors for fentanyl, they've given them to Mexican drug cartels. The drug cartels are now pumping fentanyl into America. What's the #1 killer of Americans right now? It's fentanyl coming from the Chinese Communist Party and the Mexican drug cartels. But if you listen to the mainstream media talk, you'd think the #1 killer of Americans right now is like Vladimir Putin and a threat to like our democracy or some nonsense like that. So really, I mean, at the end of the day, like you talked about a big, massive issue with illegal immigration. If we can't learn from that, then we are absolutely doomed to fail. We have to have a strong border. And look, this is to get back to why it has to be Trump. Who was talking about illegal immigration before Donald Trump was? It wasn't, we weren't allowed to talk about it on the national stage. And Trump came in and he said, we're going to build a wall. And he was stifled. There's a bunch of Republicans that stabbed him in the back. And we still need the wall. But Trump's a problem solver. He got in there and he said, okay, well, these people aren't just appearing out of nowhere. They're coming from South America. So he went right to the source and he said to all the governments in Mexico and everything south of Mexico, if you don't stop the caravans, I'm going to cut off your foreign aid and I'm going to tariff the ever-loving heck out of everything that comes across the border. And yeah, he didn't stop all the illegal immigration, but he put a massive dent in the illegal immigration by using the proper tools of the executive branch, by not just relying on one tool. He used a lot of our strength of our economy and tariffs. So that really just gets back to the core of the issue. We have to have a president, we have to have leaders that actually say, hey, this is not just some open market bazaar. This is a sovereign nation that cares deeply about its people and is going to defend their borders. And I think President Trump, at the core of him, for all the flaws he has, I really think he understands that. I think all of you understand that too. I think that's what the difference is between the old corporate Republican Party that talked a lot about GDP and talked a lot about like, well, we like legal immigration and we want to bring in skilled people, and this more nationalist, populist, America First wing of our party. And that's, we really are in the lead here. And we are leading the charge and actually taking our country back. So no matter how bad things get, just know that we're winning, because they wouldn't need to run all this propaganda against us if we weren't winning. So, I
don't have, many problems with the pre-establishment DeSantis. In the last few months, the things I'm seeing, it's all the red flags are going up and all the warning signs are going up, and I look at the Trump stuff and. Yes, I know so many people are paid to talk about these things. Again, I am not. I do it as a labor of love and a labor of passion. I just look at it and I go, you cannot turn away the possibility of sending this man back to DC and letting him rain merry hell down on all of those people. Yeah. That is not just a once in a lifetime opportunity. That is a once in several generation opportunity to have this man take those reins of power again. I mean, it will be the American carnage that the left thought we were going to have, or we'll give it to them this time, okay? That's what I want to see. So I can talk all day long, and I very much will. I have so much to say. I have so many stories. You can shout out keywords. You ever seen those comedians who say, shout out 3 different keywords and I'll make up a joke of them, or in person. You could shout out 3 different keywords and I would actually have a real story to tell based on any random thing. I've been around for a long time, considering I'm 36 years old, right? I've seen, all of the Brexit stuff, all of the Breitbart stuff, all of the Trump stuff. I mean, people don't realize Steve Bannon was a cruise guy. And we were in a car together one day, and I was like telling him, it's Trump, it's got to be Trump. He was the head of the company at the time of Breitbart, so I was like junior, suddenly next to this guy who's the head of the company, and so I took my opportunity. I was like, dude, it's Trump, it's got to be Trump, good Trump. He goes, listen, we're going to talk about it, it's fine, you don't need to worry about it. And he goes into a meeting, comes back out, and he goes, you know what, I think you might get your Trump thing after all. I said, oh yeah, why is that? He goes, well, I just had Rebecca Mercer on the phone, you know, the big donor to Cruise World, and he goes, she's not convinced that Ted Cruz is actually legally eligible to run for president of the United States. Canadians, huh? But I've got so many stories. I'm very happy to share them all with you. But before I get into rambling about my nostalgic moments in you know the Brexit and MAGA movements, I do want to talk to you about this place and this candidate and why. You know, there are not a lot of people that I'll go and stunt for in Dallas and you know out here and in where did we go? Oh yeah, the Army Navy Country Club in DC. I mean, frankly, Joe, there's nobody else I'd go to the Army Navy Country Club in Virginia for, because it's typically a stuffy old Republican place who don't like my language and they don't appreciate the aggressive modes of window shifting that I'm interested in, right? They're very behaving out there sometimes, but we put a good room of good people together, and when Matt called me up and asked me to come out here, Joe, for you, I said, you know, whatever, let's wait, I'll stay there 2 weeks if you need me to. I don't care. And there are defining characteristics of this race, right? And I look at all the money that was spent against Joe, right? That is a major hurdle, and that is, I hate to do this because it's gauche, right? We don't talk about money in England very often, but you must put your hands in your pockets, and you must do it to a level by which you may be even uncomfortable with, because it's an investment in the future we're talking about here. It's not a run-of-the-mill like Republican candidate who you go, oh well, it's better for them to win than for a Democrat to win. No, this is someone we need at like committee level, digging the detail. You want to have a firebrand representative for this constituency, this district. Like, do you even realize how proud people are to have Matt Gaetz as their representative? They love him. They bloody love him. And you need that represented here in this side of the world as well. And I just think that's one critical element of it, and you all know it, and I just want to like hammer that home for you guys, right?